Okay, I should be live. If you hear me, definitely go ahead and just say hello. Let me know if I sound good, if I look good. Let's try to figure out all the weird video troubleshooting if there are any issues before I get into actual discussions. But hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I'm Henry from Techlore, and pretty light week this week, to be honest with you. There were a few less wins than normal, but the wins that we had were still super strong and were huge and are still very much worth showcasing. So I'm very excited to share them with you. Um, we're going to follow a pretty similar format today, which is going to just, catch up with the live stream, see how you're all doing. And then I'm going to pivot over into actually covering the wins. This week we're showcasing Rav Kalo, I believe is how you say that username. You guys always have fun usernames that I never know how to say. So it's become kind of a joke at this point. But it doesn't mean I'm not trying every time. It just means I'm terrible at it. And let's see what else. So while I'm going through the wins, I'll kind of cycle in and out between the live chat and the wins. And at the very end, I will just kind of leave it open as a huge Q&A / if you want to share your wins in the live chat, I'd love that. The best way to kind of engage is to just be active in the live chat and have a good time. And if you're listening to this after the fact, enjoy. With that said, let me go check in on you all. So I got here Carter. I hope you're online, Carter. Oh yeah, you are. You said it's good. Hello, how are you doing? We got Doe, who's second, Bengal third. We got a question from Benjo. Thoughts on WinScribe banning users? Here, I'll get to that in a sec. Hello, Neil. Hello, Joshi, Sir Wolf, Kinky Koala. Oh, here's one. Rithwick. Did I say that right? Withwick. Bengal said hi. AB George said hi, huge fan. Thank you, AB, and thank you for being on and making the time to be here. And I guess while I'm waiting for everyone else to kind of pop in and say hi, just to quickly answer Benjo's question. So a little bit of context here. WinScribe put out a blog article essentially saying people who are abusing are... So WinScribe is a VPN service, and they have an unlimited advertising tier where essentially... it's not like a dedicated tier. It's actually just their premium plan. They advertise kind of unlimited bandwidth, so you can kind of just use it as much as you want within reason. And people were abusing that, and so now they're pretty much saying we're actually starting to ban accounts now who abuse it. So they haven't removed the unlimited aspect of it, but they are banning people who abuse it for bad things. And they even show charts of like, here's what it like bandwidth looks like on a VPN server before and after we banned literally 2 people, and it like shrunk it by like 80%. So like almost all the traffic on a server that was leading to people complaining was coming from a couple of people abusing it. Yeah, I don't know. My thoughts are it seems like a pretty inevitable thing that they were going to have to do at some point. And their issue is probably doing their weird marketing stuff that they always do, which is like slightly misleading and sets them up for this exact situation when they call something unlimited. Not like they're the only company to ever do that, but if you call something unlimited and it's not unlimited at some point, then you're going to get some backlash for it. So I think that's really the mistake here. I don't think anyone's going to blame them for trying to keep traffic on their servers open for their customers. So yeah, those are generally my thoughts there. Oh, we got some more highs. We got Chai, Chi, we got RBQ. Hello, Rithwick. Rithwick said yes, so I got it. Ricardo, greetings from Italy. Hello. Tribal Chief Savage, hi. Hello, Rav Kalo. Tarquin says hi. Hello, Henry. I wonder what studies did you done at school for talking about privacy and security to people? I would like to do the same job one day. Yeah, so I originally went to school for software engineering, and without bashing anyone, let's just say I didn't like it, and I couldn't see myself working in that environment, beyond university. And so I switched over to digital media, and that is pretty much what I continue doing. And then I took a break after COVID, and it's a long story, but pretty much haven't formally finished. But I don't have a formal privacy and security degree. It doesn't really exist. The closest you can do is InfoSec and like cybersecurity, which I do have a basic certification for, but most of this is self-taught. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's something that anyone can do, and I don't know if that many degrees or formal education paths that you can do to learn this stuff, unfortunately. Hello, Nix. Hello, Mollith. Hello, Doe. Hope you're all doing well. And we got over 50 people on already, and we got a lot of highs. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into the win to just kind of get things started. So again, Rav Kalo, I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly, and I'm sure I'll get a correction for that later. But that was the headline win of this week, which is they're kind of, I simplified because they actually did a lot of things, but there was a big pattern here, which was they were replacing Google services with non-Google services. And so I called this going Google free privacy transition. So they replaced Gmail with Proton Mail. They replaced Google Drive with Proton Drive. They replaced Google Photos. This one was weird to me. I've never heard of something like this. They replaced Google Photos with a service provider, a service provided by their ISP, and it's 50 gigabytes, which actually isn't even enough for my photo needs, and I feel like I have a lot less photo needs than people I know. And I'm really curious what service this is and how it provides better privacy than Google Photos. So I have a lot of questions around that, but it sounds like it's a win. They replaced Firefox with Firefox Focus, which is a bit lighter. That's great too. Just realize there's probably different use cases. Like Firefox still might have a use case over Firefox Focus, and there's certain things you can't do on Firefox Focus. And thank you all for the emojis and the love. Yeah, that's really cool. And then let's see, replace Firefox Password Manager with Proton Pass. They're using Proton VPN, and they replaced the Google Suite with OpenOffice. And someone even said down below, maybe it's better to check out LibreOffice instead of OpenOffice. Whatever works for you guys, I would probably also look into that transition if it were me. LibreOffice is a bit more updated and just a bit nicer to use than OpenOffice. And I would also check out OnlyOffice as a bonus tip. It's a bit more limited than something like LibreOffice, but it's got a much cleaner interface. It's a much more approachable to people who come from like the Google or even the Microsoft suite. They installed PeerTube, but there's not enough content. Also Nebula, but it needs more creators, so I'm stuck with YouTube for now. Well, I can gladly say that we have our own PeerTube server. It's called Techlore.tv, and I will pull that up here. I want a reason, the perfect reason for you all to check this out. So Techlore.tv, this is our PeerTube server. So if you want to access Techlore via PeerTube, it's open source, it's ad-free, there's no trackers, and it's like the best way to engage with our content. And this is something that I just spun up, so if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. With that said, I fully agree there aren't enough creators on PeerTube. There's a lot of creators that go to other platforms that just don't do things as well. They're like fake decentralized, they're fake privacy friendly. Like a lot of them are like, well, privacy friendly, but we still bake in tons of trackers. And they're also fake decentralized because they're like, well, technically you can spin up your own server, but nobody does it. Very blue sky energy. So PeerTube truly is like a really nice way to own your own content. It's open source, it's federated, and I own the damn server that all the videos are hosted on. So it doesn't get more like ownership oriented than that. Ownership oriented? What does that even mean? So they replaced Google Calendar with Proton Calendar. They replaced Google Keep Notes with Proton Docs, and they gave up on Twitter and went to Mastodon. Congrats, it's another like actual federated platform. And they installed Signal, but they need to remind themselves to use it instead of WhatsApp, which is probably a bigger reflection of the people you know than yourself, if we're being honest. So overall, amazing switches, amazing wins, lots of good stuff here. Definitely give some reactions if you're in the live chat. What are those called? Are those called live reactions? Someone let me know what those are called. I feel like I'm so like stupid when it comes to some YouTube stuff because I don't actually watch very much YouTube. So let's see, install EOS. Oh, so here's what they are going to do. They want to install EOS on their phone, but it's not in their devices list. I wonder what phone you do have. There are probably other ROMs you could check out that accomplish very similar things as EOS, if not better. But it really depends on the phone you have. They want to go back to Linux Mint. They used it for years, but can't because of gaming. It's way better on Windows. And they gave up on Facebook and Instagram, but everyone I know is there, and it's a good way to keep up to date. So I'm excited to see where these lead. But overall, awesome wins. Congrats. And that was the highlight of the week. And I just wanted to say, good job, because these are all like big things. Each of these can take a long time to do. So good work. And then let me check in on the live chat there. Where do I find the certification that you offer? That I offer? I don't offer formal. So the closest thing I have is I have the Go Incognito course, which comes with a certificate. But that's more like very basic stuff. I mean, it's basic to advanced, but like it's really aimed towards people who are new to the space, who want an all-in-one place to learn everything they need about privacy and security. And I think it does a great job of that. And it's been very well like received by a lot of people, and I'm excited for V2. But the certifications I did are like cybersecurity certifications through like ISC2, and I overall liked it. It was a pretty smooth process, so that's what I can recommend because that's all I've done. But I know there's other like websites and different certification programs you can go through. Techlore, did you perhaps had a chance to check out MLS protocol implementation on Wire? I did not. I apologize. It's still something that I would like to look into, but a lot of things have been getting away from me lately, so I do want to get into that. Let's see. Garujo says 7 minutes late and hi. Hello. 50 gigs could be enough if the photos are not big and videos are out of the picture. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, everyone's different, so it really depends on the person. It's just, I feel like even people I know, they couldn't work within the 50 gigs. I don't think I could. I think I'm at like 60 gigs right now, and I feel like I don't have that many photos, so maybe it's compressed. There's so many questions, and everyone's different. The point is it works for them, so that's what matters here. They got Portmaster and Proton VPN, both of them activated. Good job. Yeah, no, that's a good one. And like, I don't know how it was to get them both working at the same time, but that can sometimes be a bit of a mess to get a VPN working with Portmaster, so I'm glad that you got it going. OpenOffice is also unmaintained with security vulnerabilities. So yeah, I'm not super familiar with those details, but just based on usability alone, I would probably push people away from OpenOffice. There you go. Rough Kahlo. Wait, are you? Oh, it's you. No way. Rough Kahlo in the live chat. Look. This is very, look, you're on the screen twice. Cool. Yeah, so you're not big and taking pics, so 50 gigs is more than enough for you. That's awesome. And thanks for being in the live chat too. Neil said, oh, I forgot to say Henry is live. Will you teach us how to set up searching? I'm on MacBook though. I haven't got that request very much. So it's unlikely. There's a lot of things that are more heavily requested than that, but if enough of you ask for it, then it's something I can do. So definitely let me know. Let's see. Let's move on, and we're gonna scroll up to the top here. New wins update from last week. This is from @ale. They successfully and fully ditched big tech and moved to Fedora. Congrats, that's a big one. So they moved to Fedora Workstation and Silverblue. They have 2 mini PCs. It was smooth because they already done a lot of prep work and they've been using it every now and then and to learn how to use Linux, but they did a fresh reinstall with Fedora 42 and set it up in a more intermediate advanced manner. Honestly, sounds like you did a lot of good prep there. A lot of people just dive in and they actually have enough success with that, but some people, like I'm definitely fall in the second camp here of like wanting to make sure everything's ready. Like I have a list of things that I need to figure out and have it all planned, and so it's as smooth as possible. So I think that's wonderful, and I very much align with how you probably did things, and that's definitely a good idea for anyone who is maybe a little bit stuck or feels overwhelmed about the transition to Linux. I am now using and have set up MacBook Air as a glorified NAS and a streamer box that I've set up with Jellyfin so I can stream my media library from my Fedora. And macOS going forward will only be used for select official important government and corporate paperwork that absolutely requires Adobe Reader. It would be awesome to have Adobe Reader on Linux or an equivalent piece of software because I haven't found anything quite as good on Linux. But that sounds like a really good way to compartmentalize things and minimize your time on operating systems that maybe you don't like as much. And then some little details here. They set up WireGuard via the terminal with Kill Switch using Proton and set up many FOSS apps to make Linux easier to use and manage. No major issues, and everything seems to work smoothly as I'm using Flatpaks with browsers as system packages. Giving up and letting go of big tech is indeed possible, unless you absolutely can't give up Microsoft Office and Adobe products, which honestly is a lot of people. But it's okay, right? Like, you don't have to fully give up big tech, but if you can minimize your reliance on big tech and move towards the right direction, you're doing fantastic, right? Like, look at every other thing in the world. Like, people will give you health advice, and the advice isn't to take everything literally and perfectly, it's to be as good as you can. And same thing with your relationships and your time management. Like, you're never supposed to be perfect, but the closer you can get, and over time you keep making more and more improvements, the better you'll be. And I think that we can see this whole privacy and security journey the same way, because none of us are perfect, but the closer you move to perfection over time in a sustainable, realistic way, the better you'll be. And now they said, I'm enjoying the FOSS and big tech-free digital life, and I think it's a really good story. So thanks for sharing, Ale, and I hope that his story, or whoever, I don't know if they didn't put, so their story, I hope is like applicable to all of you out there. He, she, whatever. Wellington, I increased my usage of locally hosted LLMs significantly to replace a lot of my web searches. It's impossible to be tracked when no data is being transmitted. Been loving the new Qwen 3 series of models. Yes, definitely good stuff. I would love to see better, I mean, it's hard because, like, it's a lot of processing to do locally on a system. And so a lot of the AI models that I've been testing out locally, using things like Jan AI, which uses like Llama or any other LLM model out there, you're not getting access to very good models relative to the paid ones that you can use via the cloud. But that is just kind of part of the trade-off because you have to run this stuff locally. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that down the road we'll see a mix of local as well as like end-to-end encrypted or privacy respecting cloud options to still give you access to those powerful models. And I'm kind of describing what Apple has at least tried to do, which is mostly on device when possible, and then using their like, you know, their weird like private computing servers that are like end-to-end encrypted in a way. But it'd be cool to see that come from a company like DuckDuckGo or any other like more mainstream privacy company, which maybe has a bit more trust and a bit more like oomph behind the statements they make. And then let me see. Oh my gosh, why did I click the wrong one? There we go. I use OnlyOffice. OpenOffice is not maintained. Yes, OnlyOffice is great. Actually, that's like, of the three, I'm gonna be real, like LibreOffice, I'm fine recommending it if it works for somebody. It's great, it's open source, there's nothing wrong with it. Outside of the usability, it's just very rough around the edges, and I don't know why they keep rolling out new features before just like polishing it up and making it look nice. So for me, it really bothers me. Some people it doesn't bother, but OnlyOffice has the opposite problem, which is they have a very nice interface. It looks very beautiful, very like similar to Microsoft Office design, but it's lacking a lot of important features in their free like desktop client. So kind of opposite issues. Maybe it's best to have both of them, and maybe you default for simple things, OnlyOffice, and then if you actually need real features and like real functionality, you got to use LibreOffice. That's been my experience. If you have a different experience, definitely share. No, I love this guy, man. Well, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for being active. Joshi, since I started watching you, I've been using NotesNook despite being a bit skeptical about the use of private note-taking apps, and I use Ente, which I started over iCloud. Yeah, what makes you skeptical about, like, you know, not even like NotesNook, but just in general private note-taking apps? Like, what's the skepticism? Like, I'd love to hear what that is. Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, it's good for maybe a backup. Those of you who switched from Gmail to Proton Mail, do you keep your Gmail address and forward to Proton, or do you migrate your accounts all to Proton? Yeah, it's a good question. So I can't speak. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. My guess is most people will set up forwarding from their Gmail to their Proton because they probably use an @gmail.com email address. So that way, any lingering emails you still receive, and you can slowly start transitioning everything to your Proton Mail. This is why I'm a big proponent, though, of using custom domains when possible. Because with a custom domain, right, like Robert M. Let's say you buy robertm.me. Or you could be fun with it and do robert.me, right? Like, you can do a lot of fun things, but point is, you got a custom domain, and you could use that with Gmail, and you could still receive all your emails, and then your transition to Proton is literally exporting your Gmail emails, importing them in the Proton, and then just migrating your domain to Proton, and then all your emails, you don't have to switch anything on your accounts, just automatically start going to Proton. That's the idea, and anyone listening, it's really easy to do. All these email providers literally like walk you through step by step, and they make it super simple so anyone can set up like an email with their custom domain. So really what this looks like, just buy it on something like Namecheap, log into your Proton, click add domain, and it's going to show you, oh, log into your DNS provider. I'm just saying Namecheap is an example. I don't even use Namecheap, but log into your DNS, and you're just going to add these values. It's going to tell you which values to add. You add them, and then you can start sending emails from that domain. And the sooner you guys do that, the more ownership you'll have, and you'll be able to transition between email providers like nobody's business, and it gives you that ownership of your emails. So something to think about. But now I don't know how I ever made it without NotesNook. Yeah, NotesNook is definitely good. So I've been using a mix of like Cryptee, NotesNook, and LunaTask, mostly LunaTask on my end, but they're all fantastic services. And like I've heard mostly like only good things about people's experience with NotesNook. So very grateful to have them even sponsor the like some of our videos. Super cool. They don't sponsor this live stream, so I don't have to say any of this, of course. But seems like a good service, and everything I've done for testing wise has been really awesome. So it's just cool to have so many different options. People have been asking, why don't you say standard notes? Well, they're on our resources. And then now people are saying, what about Joplin? It's like, oh, fine. So the point is, there's a ton of options out there, which is not a bad place to be. Let's see. In case you didn't see the message at the forum, totally fine if you show the song. Yeah, so Kinky Koala made a song, and I haven't actually like figured out what to do with it yet. It's an AI song, but it's actually pretty funny, and it's really good, and it could be like a community song, and I thought it was really well done. So I'm still trying to figure out what to do with it, and if it's something I just play in a live stream, if it's something I use for videos, I don't know yet. I also am a little bit like iffy on the usage rights for it. I know you explained it to me, Kiki Koala, and DMs, but I still have to do more digging into that. Because if I have to attribute every time I use the song, then I'm just going to do it once. I'm not going to bother with the attribution every time it's used. Let's see. YouTube keeps blocking my comments before I am mentioning an excellent competing decentralized FOSS video platform that they are afraid of. Sounds like PeerTube to me. Loves PeerTube. Yours is a PertaTube. No, mine is Techlore.tv. Techlore.tv. A PertaTube is Nate's, which is where surveillance support is hosted. With that said, we follow each other, so you can actually watch Techlore videos on a PertaTube, or you can watch surveillance support videos on Techlore.tv. And that's the beauty of decentralization, guys. So it's the equivalent, essentially, of like you being able to like follow someone on Facebook from, there is no like real, like LinkedIn. Like you can be on LinkedIn and follow a Facebook account. So it's cool stuff. That's why I stopped using email aliases, just different email prefixes for each service. One day I can just click a few buttons if I ever choose to switch email providers, which is nice. Yes, and for the record, you can actually use aliasing services with a custom domain. So that is an option. It's always been an option with like simple login. So that way you have a good combo of both. Live stream, not in videos, just for fun. If you're a big tech company, usage rights are not an issue. I get that personally. I don't care at all. I'm not sure how much Yoli cares though. Yeah. Hello, buddy. Hello, None. Hope you're all well. And let me continue now with the wins. Okay. So we already did Rafkalo. Oh my gosh, you're really making this difficult for me. Oh, luckily it's not a win, but I still want to shout out Podum. Anyway, they're a bronze Techlorian, so I wanted to shout out them for supporting Techlore. And I wish I could say your name. Let's see. We have some tips going here. Okay, next one, Jibble Jamp. I think I got that one. I convinced my partner to use Signal. Proud to say we're using Signal as our main communication method now. And I said I was hoping to get more of my friends on there. One sec. I did forget to mention that here. Okay. Actually, before I do Jibble Jamp, I'm sorry. I did forget about our Techlorian group chat on Signal. So let me go ahead and catch up here in the Signal group. Okay, so sorry about that. Leo has some wins from our Signal group, which I'm going to read off here. They deleted 2,000 Google contacts, and they're building a secure contacts app using mostly voice as they have chronic RSI and other health issues at the moment. They have hundreds of thousands of emails, down to 120,000-ish. Already was using Proton. That's a huge amount of emails. They were using only their personal name, Gmail, which has lots of spam on Chrome. They're using Liberal for everything else. And they're doing that transition, and it's challenging because it's not properly compartmentalized. And they're helping continue working on the prototype solution for this privacy-first OS. They are using Leo at linux.com to give you an idea. I sort of know what I'm talking about. Been using it since 93-ish, but juggling too much for my head. Practical challenge from yesterday. I want to use Firebase AI to odd build my contacts app, but I don't want to Googlify my new EU domain. They deleted their entire YouTube history going back to when YouTube started and exported it and using FreeTube to manage playlists and history included now. Super cool. And then let's see, another one going to watch it on PeerTube, not YouTube somehow. Yeah, unfortunately, I have been talking about how I wish there was a way to also like stream to PeerTube safely, and so I still haven't got many tips on that, which makes me think there isn't a clear solution outside of using an external platform for that. So still exploring that. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm caught up in the Signal group, so let me go ahead and go back to Jibble Jam. So again, they had their partner in themselves, and they've been using Signal as their main communication method. And while this hasn't progressed much, I did have one friend who's already into privacy ask me to talk to them outside of Discord, and I chose Signal. The recent Discord news has certainly given me a push and good reasons to switch, and I'm discussing switching with another friend now, hoping to update you all on that soon. And if you're wondering, the recent, let's see, it's a YouTube video. Is Discord doomed with the new, oh, that's right, they got a new CEO. Yeah, I know people, I don't know why them getting a new CEO is like the breaking point. But either way, it seems to be a point for people, and they are considering switching away from Discord, so I can't complain. So they said also they've been trying out LunaTask for tasks, notes, journaling, and relationships after seeing Henry's video on it, and I'm liking it a lot, especially the relationship section. Yeah, I'm still using LunaTask, and it's still something I'm a huge fan of. I actually went ahead and updated some of my workflows just yesterday, and big fan. Still hasn't fixed any of my complaints in my video yet because it's not perfect. So I'd love to see some of those issues addressed. Because then it would be even easier for me to recommend. But if you're someone like me and you like click the way I do, I think LunaTask is a super cool service. They switched from NextDNS to Mullvad DNS after they noticed they were having DNS leaks. It's been nothing but great for me so far, likely not going back since I didn't use a lot of NextDNS's features. One thing to keep in mind, and this may or may not be you, there have been a lot of people who, I think it's just a terminology thing. In my mind, a DNS leak is when your DNS provider is unintentionally one that it's not supposed to be. So if you're connected to Proton VPN, but it's revealing your actual DNS that is not Proton VPN, and it's outside of the Proton VPN tunnel, but it's something that you don't want it to be, therefore it's a DNS leak. What a lot of these services do when you do a DNS leak test is they just check if it's the same one as your VPN. And if it's not, they just say it's a DNS leak. But it's kind of a broad term because if you changed your DNS to be a custom DNS provider like NextDNS, it's going to report a DNS leak, but that's something you intentionally did. So my guess, based on what I've seen a lot from different comments, is you weren't actually having a DNS leak. You were just using a custom DNS, and the tool was reporting it as a DNS leak because it didn't match with your VPN server. If that's the case, then there was nothing wrong. That's intentionally what you did, and you set that up yourself. With that said, I still love Mullvad DNS. It's actually what I'm using right now, so like no harm done. But just something for you to think about if that was the reason you stopped using NextDNS. But you even said you weren't using it that much, so it doesn't seem like it mattered too much. But I hope that someone heard this who maybe stopped using a service because they didn't interpret it correctly. They switched to Fudo keyboard. It's really nice to have multilingual input on an online keyboard without switching keyboard layouts. Yes, I've only heard great things about Fudo, so it's definitely a good, cool keyboard for you all to check out on Android. They mostly switched from Tubular, NewPipe to GrayJay, which can cast to the TV with FCast. It's nice to watch my YouTube feed on both mobile and TV without logging into their YouTube account. They've been having issues with playback as of late, so I do fall back to Tubular sometimes. Cool stuff. They started building up an offline music library using Seal and Qt Music. I don't listen to music very often, but hoping I can build out a library of my favorites and start listening to them. Really cool. And I've seen more of this trend lately of people moving towards like locally owned stuff. So I would like to see that continue just because it has some really cool benefits that also happen to be privacy respecting and give you more digital control. So I think it's all good stuff. They have their TOTP codes in their password manager Bitwarden, and I don't feel like getting them off of there yet, so I decided for now at least put 2FA on my password manager and store its TOTP code in the Bitwarden Authenticator, which I'm going to be real with you guys, I feel like is like the actual use case for Bitwarden Authenticator. To this day, I don't think they have any syncing, and it's just a weird product. It's so bare bones, which makes me think that it was released just for this use case. Like, Bitwarden Authenticator was just released as a way to get into your Bitwarden account. with like essentially an offline device, like an air gap device, theoretically. That's my guess, because I didn't really build it out in a way to be super usable outside of that use case. Let's see, reinstalled some of the FOSS apps I use on my phone after I realized I could have installed them with Optanium instead of through Aurora, switched from Vanilla Signal to Molly while I was at it. Good stuff. They switched to Firefox Focus on their phone as the default, currently keeping Brave around for non-ephemeral browsing needs. And the current slow process is switching to their personal email from Proton Mail to Tuda. Not that necessary, I only use it for account logins rather than communication. It's mostly just that I'm personally not big on the whole Proton ecosystem and the almost big corp vibe that they have, plus the Switzerland situation. Tuda running on renewable energy is nice as well. So yeah, just to recap that they're moving from Tuda, or from Proton to Tuda. And lastly, not exactly a win, but they've been strongly considering deleting their personal Instagram accounts since they're not using it a whole lot and they're getting notified for every message. It does get annoying when almost all of them are just friends bombarding me with reels. So yeah, super cool stuff. Like very diverse wins all around the, like all around. And so massive props, massive, I don't know. I'm running out of things to say and I feel like I keep repeating myself, but great job. And I am very proud of all of this, except, what was I saying except? I'm losing it. So, oh yeah, except just good to look into the DNS situation. It sounds like you still did the right thing for yourself, but just investigate that again. Let's see, Taserface, Adventures in Linux Workstation. They tried to switch to NextDNS and completely killed their laptop's Wi-Fi. I'd love to hear how that happened. That sounds like a story in itself. They ended up installing Linux Mint. It's what I had on a bootable thumb drive at the time. Not a fan of Mint, so I downloaded Workstation again. Lesson 1, make sure I know what I'm doing before making changes. Always a good lesson for Linux users. And lesson 2, keep a copy of my OS at the ready. Once I got the laptop up and running, I started working on a Linux reinstall document. In this file, I have my Wi-Fi passcode, terminal commands for installing Proton VPN and other apps not available on FlatHub. I also have a decent list of tweaks and apps I want installed from FlatHub. I thought about creating a system image. Years ago, I did this on Windows machine after tweaking the system. When it came time to install from the system image, all I got was a completely stock install. I was pissed, LOL. Anyone know if that's how it is on Linux? That's a good question, and I've never tried something like that. So if somebody knows, please report. The first time I installed Workstation about 2 weeks ago, it took me a couple of days to get everything set up. The second time installing, which was on Friday, it took me just a few hours. I guess my win is I'm learning. So honestly, that is kind of the Linux journey though. Like when you first start using Linux distros, I feel like I don't want to like make you think it's not going to be your home the first one you install, because I want you to pretend it's going to be your home because you have to start using it and making mistakes. But it probably won't be your home for long because you're going to break it, you're going to do stupid stuff on it, but that is part of the learning process, and I think Taserface is dealing with that firsthand. So try not to give up, and I think what tends to happen is people really settle in their workflow and they can keep things very consistent and stable, and you will find peace soon, I promise. Let me check in on comments here. Where did I leave off? None says they use NextDNS and ADI.io. It's Nix, Henry. Nix! Hello, Nix! It's actually me. Not sure why some display name and others the other. Maybe different login methods. Yeah, weird. I don't know why it showed that name, but you should be able to change it. If you can't, DM me on the forum, and I should be able to change it on my end. Unless that username's taken, then we can find a better one. Oh, Manstrawl said, a win for me. I finally started the transfer process to get my YouTube channel off of my very, very old compromised personal account I made in middle school. Okay, next week you got to share with us the videos, and then we can all share in probably the cringe that is those videos. Let's see, the NotesNook skepticism was just me trying to figure out how it would fit in my daily workflow and how I would use it in my workflow. Maybe skepticism was the wrong word. No, I kind of get it. Like, before I started using more note-taking services, I was just putting everything in my Signal note to self. I literally didn't have a note-taking service. And it's a lot better now. Like now I have much better access to information. It's much better organized, and it's still not as organized as I want things to be in my head. Like everything needs to be perfectly organized all the time. And even if it's not and it's like 80% organized, it's still better than Signal Note to Self or no note-taking program. It's just really hard to retain information without some like more robust solution. So it doesn't really matter what you choose, just have a system. Some people like Obsidian, some people like Cryptee, some people like LunaTask, some people like Joplin, some people like NotesNook. And the ones I'm currently like going between is Cryptee, LunaTask, and NotesNook. I tried Obsidian and it made me literally want to end my life. Not actually, but it was such a pain in the ass to use and set up, and like no one can convince me that Obsidian is actually worth the hassle it is to set up when you just have simple note-taking needs. It was like more effort to set everything up than just start taking notes, and that's why I like the other three that I'm using right now. Let's see. An L for me. I told my mom Happy Mother's Day in Google Messages, and there was an animation that automatically played. I don't like my messages being scanned, even for trivial reasons. Yeah, actually, it is possible to do all that without your messages being scanned in a privacy-invasive way, so I'd be interested to see how they do it, because it actually could be done with end-to-end encryption. So, yeah. After I just trashed Obsidian here. I'm a huge fan of Obsidian, by the way. Not FOSS, but you own your files. Even if you don't use complex third-party plugins, it's easy, readable Markdown, and the optional sync service is end-to-end encrypted by default. Yes, Obsidian is fantastic. I can't even deny that it's not a good provider. I just think it's needlessly complex for someone who has very basic note-taking needs. And I know I see like a lot of takes, which is like, well, it can be as simple as you want it to be, but if you don't customize it, then it doesn't have any real features and it's too bare bones. So it's this weird thing of like, for me, this is my experience, it's super bare bones unless you customize it, but customizing it's kind of a pain. And then I feel like I'm just tinkering too much and it's like, well, I could have just been taking notes this whole time. So that was my issue, but I've seen the YouTube videos, I see how creative the workflows are, I see the power, and if that's the way you want to go, you're probably going to use it really well. So let's see. Google search, I thought Signal was compromised. No. And source code was leaked for Signal. It was. It's called being open source. Have you had to look at Sepia search? No. Service tied to a decentralized FOSS video platform. Oh, that's right. Okay, this is the PeerTube one. I'll look into that right now. Yeah, so why don't we give this a shot? So your Sepia search. We're gonna see how it works. Techlore. Grotesque matter theory. Oh my gosh. Too long didn't watch for Go Incognito. I think this was a meme that someone made. Yeah, I remember being sent this. Someone I think made a meme. And here, we're gonna watch it. Welcome to Go Incognito, a course teaching you how to be secure in private, personal, and other sensitive data. Privacy and security enthusiast, security and privacy, and security. Digital privacy, secure, safe privacy and security, private, secure, anonymous. Thank you for tuning in. So that's a thing. It's still not picking up the new PeerTube server, so they should pick that up. If you have tips on how I can submit that somehow to make it better, let me know. Or if maybe it just takes time, but I would really love to have Techlore.tv show up in Sepia search. That is my main criticism. So there we go. Let's see here. Privacy and security, yes. I've learned a lot from you over the years. Thanks, of course, and thanks for watching P90, and I'm glad there was value there. I got some Signal messages here. There's a lot of stuff here. Whoa. Yeah, maybe because you guys are having a whole discussion in the Signal group right now. Ping me. Make sure to ping me so I see, because I can't filter out that many messages right now in the middle of a live stream. So if you actually directly ping me in something, then I'll see it, and that way I can like directly address something that you post. So feel free to repost anything, but ping me in it. That way I can see that. But this one does say, by the way, this is directed at Henry when he gets a chance, if he can use AI to become superhuman. But I think it would be a perfect ambassador and candidate for this, which is, let's see, social media specialist for The Linux Foundation. Whoa. That could be cool. Oh, here we go. We got a ping here from E2. Are you planning to watch the Eurovision final tomorrow? I am not, but I can guarantee you Nate from The New Oil is, because he's really into that stuff. So I've never really seen it. I think that Nate talks about it all the time, and I kind of just go, yeah, I hope she wins. Yeah, I'm voting for her. And I've never seen them though. So, and that's how Nate and I still do our podcast every week. Let's see here. Garujo sent me something from Mastodon on Signal. I've come to realize that some platforms actually don't exactly officially support Open Collective or otherwise, so I created an account to report on anything outside Open Collective. Feel free to follow it or don't, donate or don't. It's whatever, really. Okay, that's an interesting concept. What's your goal for doing that? I'd love to hear. And then let's see. If you're talking about the U.S. government using screw up, that was entirely human error. Clarify, you're not to MB on Signal. Drop the source code for Signal iOS desktop and Android source. Yeah, it's called being open source. it's on GitHub. You don't have to do it on Telegram. You just pull up the GitHub. You got all the source code. And yeah, it reminds me of the jokes of like when gaming companies and there was some like proprietary source code that was leaked on GitHub, and it was like, wow, they leaked the source code. But other people are like, no, they just open sourced it. Is Google Messages the SMS RCS app or some other messenger they haven't killed yet? No one knows the answer to that question, just because there's too many messengers. But yeah, it is the one that should have end-to-end encryption if 2 people are using it. How is Quad 9 for privacy? Been using it for years now. Yeah, Quad 9 seems really good. It's actually recommended on our resources on Techlore.tech, so definitely check that out. They seem like a really good provider. Just keep in mind, I made a whole DNS like versus VPN guide, and I talked briefly on DNS providers. There's 2 types of DNS providers in my mind, and like the switches that you can make from a traditional DNS. So if you use your ISP's DNS, not only are they tracking a lot of things, but they don't really give you any flexibility. They don't give you any filtering. So the 2 things that you can do is, one, you can just move to something that is privacy respecting. That's it. Its entire use case is just to be privacy respecting, and that will be pretty much any VPN's DNS that's built into the VPN service. That's Quad 9. That's any of the things in the other camp as well, most likely. The second group, and this is that second camp, is you can also switch over to a DNS service that has filtering, and so that it filters out bad or certain web traffic you don't want. Like if you want to block porn, you can do that. If you want to block malware, they'll have lists built into them. So I personally like that second group a lot better, and a lot of the services in that second group also accomplish the first goal, which is just being more privacy respecting than your ISP. Quad 9 just does the first thing, but it does have a basic malware filter as far as I know, but it's extremely, extremely limited in terms of like the kind of filtering it does, whereas something with Molvad has a bit more filtering options. So you can filter out like porn, you can filter out social media apps, and that's all just like pre-selected Molvad options. And if you want something with even more control, then you have things like NextDNS and Control D, which let you like drill down exactly what's allowed at different times of the day. You can choose which domains are allowed, which domains aren't allowed. You have ultimate flexibility. So just to give you a bit of context. So I like Quad 9, just be aware it's really only good for being like a more privacy respecting version of your regular DNS provider. And I do think it has some basic like malware scanning. That's it. Let's see here. Are you familiar with Quetta browser? I am not familiar with Quetta browser. Privacy security. This is rebellious as one can get on YouTube. Literally live streaming the playing of a PeerTube video right there. Haha. Yeah, pretty good stuff. I also wish the Sepia search engine gave better results, because if you go into this settings and filters, that stuff is very well laid out. I have to get going. It's almost 1 a.m. here. See you again in the forum. Have a nice week. And yes, see you, Rough Kahlo, and thanks again for sharing your win. And I hope that you being showcased is a small like thank you for giving a good win and doing good work too, and making all that good progress. And have a good night. Oop. Microsoft services are just as bad for privacy as Google. Yeah, in a lot of ways, yes. Though I will say that they have different concerns that come from different places, and so it's definitely a fun discussion. It would be fun to talk about, like, if you were, and maybe this is the scenario, like, what is the most privacy respecting way to only use Microsoft and Google services? And what I mean by that is, like, okay, do you pick Do you pick a Chromebook or do you pick like Microsoft Windows? And for your Office suite, are you using Microsoft Office like offline or are you using Google Docs? So like it would maybe even be a fun video series of like, can you realistically try to use these services in any way privately? And what is the configuration to make that happen? Is it like, oh, well, I had to use I had to use Veracrypt for this. I had to use Cryptomator for this. I had to use email aliases for this. I couldn't even find a service that does this privacy in a privacy respecting way. My point is it'd be kind of a fun thought experiment to see how far you can get with each ecosystem. Let's see. What features do you like in NotesNook and Cryptee, and what do you prefer? I love the simplicity of Cryptee, like hands down. I love just opening something up, clicking new, and just having all my tools ready to go there, not feeling the need to do anything with the notes once they're done. They're just done notes. So the simplicity is just beautiful. I love the power of NotesNook. It's a lot more powerful, so sometimes I want to do a few more things with it. So that's an option. And then what I like LunaTask for is it's just better integrated. I have LunaTask open on my computer all day. It's one of the programs that's just open all the time. And so having notes that link up to my tasks in some way, shape, or form, which is where I keep all my project management and stuff like that, is also super useful. So it's really just a use case thing for me. Let's see. It took some time to set up Obsidian the way I want. If I wanted a pure note-taking app only, I think I'd stay with Apple Notes or maybe Joplin or NotesNook, but I love the digital garden thing. Yes, it's something I wish I had. And for the record, like some services will let you export. Like there is something really cool about having a folder that you see and own that you can just move anywhere you want and it's all in Markdown. But you can kind of accomplish that. Like LunaTask has a notes export and it exports it, I want to say in Markdown. I haven't done the export, but I think it has like regular formats. And same thing with, I believe NotesNook does that as well. I haven't really seen the export options in NotesNook, but I'm pretty sure they allow you to export pretty easily too. So it's a workaround. It's not as nice as Obsidian, but excuse me, it is a nice workaround. My next project for mobile computing might be a Surface table with privacy respecting for services via a privacy respecting browser. That could be fun. So Henry, when you use email alias on Proton Pass, you agree that your primary Proton email should be kept private and never shared. That is one way to do it. And that's probably best case scenario. If it is shared, it's not the end of the world, but that is definitely something to consider, I think. It's like kind of like the whole point of using aliasing services, though, is to like reduce the amount that your regular email is shared. So even if it is shared once or twice, you're still accomplishing a lot, I think. And then let's see here. Oh, I realized I've been on the wrong screen this whole time. I should have been in this screen when I was talking my mouth off. Let's see. Rithwick. I've been a subscriber of Techlore on YouTube since September of 2020. That's really exciting. That's a long time. It's weird to like think about how long the channel's existed. Like that's just 5 years, but the channel existed before then also. And they started following on Odyssey. Speaking of that, it's really weird because Odyssey announced they were getting rid of like autosync, and I just said, fine, I'm just gonna let it go because Odyssey is a good service. They're doing a lot of cool things. I just see it as mostly inferior to PeerTube from a digital ownership perspective, from a creator perspective, because as a creator, you get to use something open source, you get to use something that's ad-free. I believe they got rid of ads, so that's no longer a relevant concern, but you get to use something that's actually decentralized and it's federated and it's a lot more user-friendly, I think. So Odyssey's good, but it wasn't a platform that I was going to manually upload to, but I think our videos have still been syncing. I honestly don't check because that's the whole point for me for Odyssey, was just to upload videos and have a different place for you guys to watch our content without me needing to like actively manage it as much. But it seems like our videos are still being uploaded there, even though they announced they were stopping the auto sync. So I don't know what's going on there. So if someone knows what's happening, definitely let me know. They started using DuckDuckGo and occasionally Brave Search. The browsers that they currently use include Zen, Brave, Vivaldi, Mullvad, Tor, and DuckDuckGo. For email, they mainly use Gmail for work and important notifications, but they also use ProtonMail for privacy. Last year, they switched to Graphene on their Pixel and use as a secondary device an iPhone XR for Apple Wallet. They've been using Bitward and Password Manager for a long time and also recently started to use NotesNook, Ente and Nextcloud to sync their contacts, calendar, and reminders. They also started using Jitsi Meet when connecting video calls with friends instead of Google Meet. Over the years, I've mostly used Windows and Mac, and this week I installed Fedora 42 on my 2015 MacBook Pro, and I'm really enjoying it as my daily driver, especially with GS Connect enhancing their experience with their Pixel 7. Really good workflow at GS Connect. And now they're moving to Fedora from macOS, and using Jitsi Meet has been the new wins adding to my list this week in terms of open source and privacy-focused software. Those are all super cool things, and I'm really glad you've been following the channel for a while. Thank you for joining the forum and leaving this, and I hope to see more progress that you make over time. That was a weird bug. So, good job, Rithwick. And I am excited to hear any further updates from you as well. So definitely leave future updates and how Fedora is going for you. Let's see. And speaking of Fedora on macOS, it'd be awesome to see Fedora on ARM-based MacBooks. I think that'd be super awesome, and that would be the ideal place to be right now. And then in the Signal group, they don't have an open collective. I was taken down for a while or something from Magic Grants, and so it's here and is reported here already. Got it. Okay, I see what you're doing. Wow, Techlore been around since 2020 and on Odyssey. Dude, Techlore's been around since like 2014, 2015. It's been around for like 10 years, man. It's pretty insane. Let's see. Cutie, small wins. Finally replaced stock Notes app with NotesNook. They found stock Notes app more simpler and it just works. They replaced the stock calculator app with FOSS Open Calc. Didn't think a nice calculator app with a good UI would be that rare. I haven't heard of OpenCalc, so it seems like a good rec if anyone's looking for that. And they final shift to Rethink DNS after a final push from Garujo. I was hopping between private DNS and NetGuard or just use Rethink. I've heard really good things about Rethink, and it's a great provider, and I've had a really good experience with them as well. So if you're looking for better like DNS like / VPN management on Android, Rethink is a great service. Let's see. Biggish Doctor took a better look at FileIn and switched from Tresorit free account. And they're being open source and file versioning on the free tier are the main reasons. Both are end-to-end encrypted and support Linux. They bought a lifetime starter subscription since it's starting to look like my go-to option for cloud sync. They lost an SSD and they'll need to see what comes out of it, but all backups are good and it should still be under warranty because it's less than a year old. While I'm waiting on that, this has resulted to me reviewing my PC setup and old accounts again, either deleting or updating accounts with expired passwords on my KeePass database. All good stuff, good maintenance, and it's a good check-in, and I hope that this was a good reminder to kind of get on top of those things because of the lost SSD. And then we got Ozen here. Okay, this one's a little controversial. And it's the first time this has really happened as far as I can tell. So I'll touch on it because it speaks to something important that I want to talk about here. So Ozen said they disabled IPv6 on all computers. If possible, disable it on the router level is the recommended. The reasons is IPv6 can expose individual devices directly to the internet without the protection of network address translation, which is commonly used in IPv4. This means that each device can be tracked more easily, leading to potential privacy violations and security vulnerabilities. IPv6 addresses can include parts that identify the device's MAC address, and the transition to IPv6 is not fully realized, leading to inconsistencies and potential security risks. So the reason I want to talk about this is I think it's like the most obvious example so far in the forum of a win that, while is a win and it's something that someone wants to do, might not be the best thing for everybody. Mainly because a lot of the assumptions on why this is good aren't fully correct. So there is this article here, but a lot of the article is actually somewhat misinformed in the information it's sharing, and IPv6 is nowhere near as bad as it's painted in this situation, and actually it has some privacy and security benefits over IPv4. Nate and I did a Q&A recently on surveillance support where we kind of just briefly looked over some of this, and it's honestly like 50-50. It's like IPv6 has a win here, and then IPv4 has a win here, and it's extremely polarizing. It's not really a clear situation of which one's better than the other. Kind of doesn't matter. And so the reason why I want to just call attention to this is that there's nothing wrong with having a win like this, and I think it's really good that Ozen is still sharing, but I think it's good as a community when this happens for people just to say oh, hey, here's why maybe this might not be the best thing to do, but we still want to just give you better information so that all of you can kind of make the best of it. Because this is, Ozen probably thinks this is a really good thing, and it might be a really good thing for them and what they're doing, and it could just be because some services they use work better via IPv6 for all we know. For example, using NextDNS with IPv6 is much nicer than using it with IPv4 if you're having to hook it up with a custom DNS provider that only allows an IP address. So there's little things like that that are just better in IPv6. So yeah, And Gurujo left a staff notice here. That is something you can also look into as well. But even without the technical discussion here, it's just good to try to lightly nudge people in a better direction sometimes, but also there's nothing inherently wrong with this. The issue I have with it is it's not the most evidence-based reasoning for doing something. So that's something to look into a little bit more, Ozen. Either way, if this is benefiting you in some way, it's a huge, massive win. But just something to think about and something I wanted to approach a bit carefully because I didn't want to take away from this win to be for everyone else. Everyone should be disabling IPv6 because I don't think that's actually a concern that most people need to even think about. So that is hopefully all I have to say on that. If anyone has a follow-up question or statement on that, definitely leave it in the live chat so I can address it a little bit more directly. Per privacy, their wins. They spreaded the message for privacy in their circle of important people, and they started blogging about it on LinkedIn. Microsoft 365 subscription ended. I think it's implied that it is ended permanently. An ongoing review of accounts plus deletion. They moved to Tiny Player on iOS for their music library. They started buying some music to support artists more directly via Bandcamp. They started reading about Graphene and started looking for an old Pixel device to buy for trying some little project, and they're planning to move their old Windows laptop to Linux, not in use currently, to have a direct access to play with Linux more. Any suggestions on a derivative as a beginner? Yeah, so I think it's really good and you're setting yourself up well, and it sounds like you're kind of in the beginning phases of really good transitions. So overall, huge props to Per Privacy here. As for your final question, I'm sure some other people left some advice here on different things to look into. I'm a big fan of just finding something that looks familiar and clicks with you. Some good starting points for a lot of people are Ubuntu, as well as Fedora, and even something like Linux Mint. Personally, I push people more towards Ubuntu than Linux Mint. But all three are fine. If you see a different distro out there that connects with you more, try it out, especially if it's just a testing device. Like, it's a perfect opportunity to try multiple distros, but I would start on those three. Just install them, play around with it, see if you like the interface, see if you like the desktop environments, try different desktop environments, see and try to download software you use regularly on each of them and see how the software works. Be ready to break things and just use it as a learning experience. So don't treat it too super seriously. But use it as a way to learn a lot more about Linux, and that way when you feel ready to make conscious decisions, and like you're like, okay, I know the right questions to ask, and I know what I want, I know what I need, I'm ready to actually dive into Linux, then you can actually just go in and do it properly. And if you need any help, once you start experimenting with things, feel free to start a thread on our forum as well, and I'm sure people can go ahead and help you out with that as well. But good stuff all around. Let's see. Quantum, a bronze Techlorian. They changed the phone number on their Signal account from their eSIM with my carrier to their Google Voice number. The Google Voice number is on an account enrolled in Google's Advanced Protection Program. This combined with a long, complex alphanumeric Signal PIN makes my account extremely resistant to any takeover attempts. And I very much agree, if security is what you're trying to do, it doesn't get much better than this. Because this really, like, Google Voice numbers can't really be SIM swapped, and especially when it's behind like their security program, it's not a bad place to be, especially with a Google Voice number. And there's not that many good VoIP services out there that are going to give you better security than that, and the privacy for all of them is pretty much the same. So if you already have a spare Google account laying around, there's not much harm in using it for something like your Signal registration. So really good setup, and I actually really enjoy that setup. Let's see. Then we have vegan friendly. My privacy journey started 4 years ago when I bought a Xiaomi Mi Band, and while setting it up, I saw something in the terms, and by the way, this is the last one I think. They saw something in the terms and conditions that they might send my health data to the cloud and might be reviewed by their team to improve their products, which somehow made me not feel at ease. I searched YouTube for an alternative solution to evade the tracking, and to my luck, I found Henry's video talking about privacy of the fitness trackers, and this is how my journey into privacy and digital minimalism started, thanks to Techlore. Really interesting entry point, because that video was put out a while ago, and funny thing about that video, our editor at the time, she got probably not the most flattering B-roll footage of, if you watch that video, the private fitness tracking video, there's a lot of potential for things that probably shouldn't have been seen on video. Luckily, the one we published online is like safe for work and everything. And nothing was not safe for work. It's just very revealing. A lot of stuff in that video. So yeah, it's just a fun behind the scenes of that video. But people really like that video, and it probably deserves an update because the space has kind of evolved a bit since then. But either way, I'm really glad that it led to you discovering the channel. In these 4 years, I was able to overhaul most of my workflow, focusing on privacy first, open source approach with a digital minimalism in mind. However, I am also a social media specialist and video editor, my only means to make ends meet. You know, privacy nightmare platforms. Wow, that sounds familiar. So I had to compartmentalize as much as I can to separate my privacy invasive work from my privacy friendly personal life. Again, sounds familiar. So here's my workflow. They have an iPhone 13 for personal, removed all Apple apps and only using necessary apps like avoiding most closed source apps, and simplified their iOS home screen following a video Henry shared about simplifying with digital minimalism, what's on my phone, really worth it. That was a cool video. A lot of people really liked that. I actually originally published that on my personal channel, and then people were like, why don't you just publish this on Techlore? And I said, well, it feels a little off topic, but actually it kind of fit in perfectly, and I think I want to share more of that kind of content on Techlore. They have an iPhone 12 mini to work to compartmentalize, and they're using custom DNS connected to another guest Wi-Fi channel meant only for work devices to be connected to. They have an old Samsung phone for tinkering and testing new stuff. And for computers, they have a Windows PC for personal and work, and they debloated using Chris Titus Tech Tool. I always struggle with this. Chris Titus Tech's tool, godsend. Removed all Microsoft apps using Revo uninstaller, and they're using all open source alternatives, including the calculator app. No stone unturned. Oh, but then they didn't do Office. You know, everyone uses it work-wise. It is impossible to get rid of this, though it is LTSC, so don't worry about it. Next DNS with Hagezi, and a huge list of manual block list to block Windows and unnecessary creative. Nice, it sounds like you're doing as much as you can on the Windows side of things. You have an M1 MacBook Air for personal use, also using NextDNS as well with File Vault, disk encryption enabled. Very cool stuff. And then browser, Brave is my main browser for both desktop and mobile. On desktop, I use one profile for work and one profile for personal. And then they have Chrome for work things only that don't like Brave and refuse to work. Chrome installed inside a sandboxy container without admin privileges, and pretty cool stuff there. They explain what sandboxy is, which is a sandboxing tool. It's open source that you can use on Windows. And now, privacy software and tools they use. So this is the summary here. Open source, Ente Auth, Molvad VPN, Jellyfin, Mastodon, Finamp, Proton and Tutamail, NotesNook, Audio Bookshelf, Calibre, Simple Login, NextDNS, Bitwarden, Signal, OnlyOffice, Local Send, Free File Sync, PCX2 for PS2 games. It seems a little off topic. SonyX, Jellyfin, though it's a great service. PCS2, JanAI for Windows, ImageGlass, ShareX, Screenbox Player, Quick Look for Windows. Super cool, really good stack, and they said, I hope my journey inspired you all, and Henry, thank you so much for everything you're doing, both for privacy and animal rights. And thank you as well for leaving your win and being a part of the community. And with that said, that is it for the wins. So let's go and pivot to the live chat, and I'd love to give you guys a little more time here. I did promise it was a bit of a shorter week, and just to speak to that, let's see, what time is it? It's been an hour, and we already got through the wins, so that's kind of it there. Let's see here. Asahi Linux is Fedora. Yeah, but it's not fully usable yet. Like, it's missing basic things. Like, I think you can check the compatibility chart for Asahi Linux right now for the Fedora spin. And like, it doesn't have full support for things like, I don't think it supports webcam. It definitely doesn't support Touch ID. So there's just random things that it doesn't support yet, and it feels not ready yet for actual use. Something I've learned is that the more serious your work gets, and like the more that like your work is dependent on you having to like be on it all day, the less you can get away with using things that aren't like production ready. And that's, you know, I think 5 to 10 years ago, I would have been comfortable trying out Fedora Asahi Linux on like an M chip for the Apple side of things, and being like, well, I'll just figure it out. But it would have been buggy, it would have been a nightmare, and now I just can't afford that. Like, I just can't afford the loss of data, I can't afford the time loss, and it's something that it just changes. So I think that I wish I had the capacity to experiment and tinker with it more. But if I did have to, it'd have to be on a different device, and so that requires an investment. So maybe I can go ahead and invest in like a test device, like maybe a Mac Mini, that I can try out Fedora Asahi on. And that one should be a lot more compatible, because a lot of the compatibility issues I've seen for Asahi Linux is on like the laptops and the laptop specific features. So let's see, I installed Tubular, no ads, no Google account, and I can import subscribers. Cool. Bandcamp, the most artist-respecting music platform. I'm going to look more into this awful SoundCloud terms of service backstab that you and Nate reported last week. Yeah, definitely report back what you find. Best advice I give people for checking Linux distros, set up a Ventoy USB. Definitely. If you guys haven't seen Ventoy, here, let me show you the website. I think I've showcased this on the streams before. One sec, it's loading. Apparently their site's slow. Okay, well, it's not loading for some reason. Like it's trying to load. I clicked this link, like I'm clicking this. But what this is it's going to allow you to pretty much drag over as many ISOs as you can on a flash drive. And when you do that, then you can boot up pretty much any of the different distros. So it's a really easy way to test different Linux distros all from one flash drive instead of needing to reinstall the flash drive each time. And this is a way to do things via like, you know, oh, see? It's not just me. So someone else should try loading the Ventoy website to see if it's just a me problem. Let's see here. Hey, we're made to look at Nate's ear piercings. How bad could the fitness tracker video be? Oh my god. Rude. Let's see. Honestly, it cares usability way more than UX, and I guess the distro not possibly breaking. Fuzzy Mint, back to stream. Hello, Fuzzy Mint. It's great to have you. Definitely realized your presence was gone earlier in the stream, so it's great to have you on. And definitely would love to hear any updates or any things that have been happening on your end. Hi, Mint. I forgot to like. I'm going to give the like button a pile driver. Yeah, I'm only seeing 46 likes. Like, on my end right now, I'm seeing this live stream. There's 76 viewers and 46 likes right now, which means a lot of you haven't clicked like yet, which is just a little sad. Ventoy loads for me. Could have clicked the GitHub, I guess. Trying to decide between Fedora, OpenSUSE, and Ubuntu. Main thing holding me back from Ubuntu is the whole thing with snaps. How big of an issue is it really? If you can avoid snaps, then it's not a huge issue. They always try to kind of do like little subtle things over time to make snaps the default again. But if you know what you're doing, you can avoid snaps altogether. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. I feel like snaps just kind of suck. So if you're able to just remove those and not deal with it, then you can kind of get the benefits of Ubuntu without the drawbacks. Yeah, and you know, like Grizz just said, you can also just use Linux Mint, which does remove snaps out of the box. So you can decide from there. But sweet, I see a lot more likes. Thank you guys. That feels better. Let's see. It's pretty slow this week. Let me check the signal group. Let me see. I appreciate Henry's situational awareness and being low-key about the signal users so much. I feel like I'm not doing a great job. My phone keeps automatically shutting off, and then I forget about it because it's off. Let's see. Nix, live small win. Replace Gboard with the Fudo keyboard. Missed that one before. Good job, Nix. And I think Nix is in the live chat as well. So actually, Nix is everywhere. Nix is in the signal group, the live chat, and on the forum. And I'm seeing all the hearts. So thanks, guys. Fudo keyboard is awesome. Let's see, does the discourse have an API we could gamify the wins? It's so much more effective if you get dopamine hit everything you secure, like the badges. Yeah, so there are ways we could try to creatively gamify the forum. The one issue though, so we're actually using Discourse's official hosting right now. So this is from the official Discourse team. They are hosting our forum at the moment. And they do have a gamification plugin. But it's paywalled pretty extensively, like behind a pretty expensive plan. So yeah, we don't have that one. Let's just put it that way. So down the road, I do think we're gonna have to go on that expensive plan anyway, because it's paywalled with like between page views, plugins, and some different things. And we just don't get that many page views to justify the larger one yet. But we're not far away from it either. So if we keep the forum growing and we keep things healthy and you all join the forum and be a part of it, it's going to be easier to roll out features like that. And speaking of, you should join the forum and join next week's privacy and security wins if you haven't already. Discuss.techlore.tech, open source, and you can just join things. We already have next week's up, and it's ready for you. You could be the first one. If you're watching this right now, you could literally be the first person in next week's thread. Let's see. Yeah. Flats over snaps. Like flat packs over snap. Snap is definitely the way to go. Let's see. The live chat. It's pretty slow this week, guys. Which, you know what? I'm tired, so not the worst thing. Fuzzy Mint. So not much, but I do plan on buying a Faraday bag for my YubiKey and other devices to prevent cellular triangulation. I don't think you need one for your YubiKey. I will say that, but if you ever wanted to get one for a phone and you have a good use case for it, then that could be a really cool little workflow. So definitely report back how it works, and also test them out to make sure they work. There's a lot of Faraday products out there that don't actually do anything. So out of those three, OpenSUSE definitely adheres to general FOSS ideology the best. Aside from that, look into Debian-based distros, as Debian is also very dedicated to the spirit of FOSS. Yeah, good advice there. Yeah, I also am not a fan of how Mint looks. I don't like the Cinnamon desktop. If you use Mint with a different DE, then obviously that kind of solves a lot of that problem. But also, I feel like the main reason a lot of people choose Mint is just because it doesn't have snaps and because it comes with Cinnamon out of the box. And frankly, you can do both of those things on Ubuntu as well. So I'm a bit mixed, and ultimately I could I can literally give you a justification for why you should and shouldn't use every Linux distro. So it's endless. Just pick what works for you. I don't like the slow updates on Debian. Would definitely have been my choice if there were more frequent updates. Yeah, I'm definitely in that page as well. And have you used FreeBSD, and what do people use it for? Yeah, I don't really have much experience with BSD, mainly because I haven't really found a good use case for it outside of just using Linux. So yeah, the reason why people use BSD, I know some people prefer its licensing. I know there's some like features and usability differences, but it's nothing I'm super familiar with. I am not very familiar with the BSD community. It's tiny, tiny. I mean, when you think about like Linux already being like at most 4 to 5% of the entire market share, yeah, BSD I don't even think is at 1. Like I would be shocked if it was at 1. So not that it's not important and there isn't a use case there, it's just not something I'm super invested in myself. So, weird small win. I got my supervisor at work to use a YubiKey. That's pretty cool. Make sure they use more than one so they have a backup, or the services they use include backup methods. That's the only thing. Just double check on that. But otherwise, like, awesome stuff. And speaks to like just familiarizing people with security tools, normalizing them. Yeah. Clarifying the next DNS to Mullvad DNS switch. I don't currently use any VPN. Can't afford it. Ah, got it. So what was the DNS? Are you the person who left the DNS leak post? Because if so, I'm still confused then how you're having a DNS leak. Where is it? Yeah, are you Jibble Jamp? Is that, you know, that's something I say on a daily basis. I just go to people out there and I just go, hey, you riding your bike, are you Jibble Jamp? And then they all look at me like I'm crazy, as if I'm the crazy one. Let's see here. I'm considering recommending Anduin OS, suggestion by Go Better on forum, to my friends who use Windows. Would like to know your thoughts, guys. I'm not super familiar with Anduin OS, so yeah, someone else is going to have to comment on that. Europe banning Monero is definitely a huge L. Yeah, if they are able to do it, that would be a huge L. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. It's really ironic because Europe really does push the envelope on a lot of privacy regulation, like the GDPR, and I just think it's really ironic how they are very for privacy in non-financial contexts. They're like, well, yeah, you can have privacy for services, you can have privacy for email, you can have privacy for messengers. We want you to have privacy. Oh, but the moment that we touch on like finances, yeah, we don't want you to have access to private financial transactions. So we do want surveillance over that. So it's a bit of a double standard. I get the whole need to like prevent illegal money laundering. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but cash does those things as well. And you don't see people saying we need to ban cash. And so I think that it's a bit more complicated than just banning anything that's privacy respecting. So yeah, a very tricky situation, but I hope that that's not what happens. And I don't even know how they would, I don't know how they would do that, is my point. Should I use OpenOffice, OnlyOffice, or LibreOffice to replace 365? Try them all out. They're all open source and they all have different benefits. I definitely would generally almost never recommend OpenOffice personally, just because LibreOffice to me is just a better version of OpenOffice. But I would definitely check out OnlyOffice and LibreOffice and see which one you click with more. Let's see. From what I see, it's just a Ubuntu reskin done by a Microsoft employee. It's not that for distros there are one-man shows, but if it's easier for them to get on board, it might be okay for him. Yeah, good take. Fuzzy Mint, update on Monero. I don't think there's much I can do to obtain it, and my parents are strictly against cryptocurrencies on the idea that they're too unstable. Only mining is what I can do. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like you might not have as much flexibility as you might like right now. So it sounds like you might be doing your best. Down the road, though, if you're able to just get your hands on Bitcoin and swap it into Monero, that's a really easy way to get some Monero. Mining it is a great alternative as well. You can also sometimes, you know, there's like marketplaces right now, like XMR Bazaar. So if you have a skill or a craft or a talent, you can do some work online and people can give you Monero. So there are some options out there, but yeah, it'd be nicer if you can just buy it directly. Just curious, is there any way that the older kernel of Debian makes the user experience any worse unless they have some new hardware not yet supported? From what I know, I mean, if you're talking about the kernel, like, yeah, if you want probably a kernel that's supported on your hardware, most of the criticism I see for Debian has more to do with software and how packages get out of date really quickly. And then you have to use like more, like they might still get security updates, but you're using older software essentially. And that can be really frustrating. And then people say, well, you can use Flatpaks. And it's like, well, I think using Flatpaks on like raw Debian is just an interesting choice to me because I feel like it's like two polarizing things. And it's like, well, so I'm not going to knock anyone's Linux setup. It doesn't really make much sense to me. It's not something that I would do. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do like a 5-minute warning here. You know, we've been going for about an hour and 15. Things are slowing up and I could probably use the rest. So I'm going to do like a last call. So anybody here? Oh, and they are Jibble Thought I was logged in on my personal YouTube account right now, but guess not. That's funny. Yeah, so I found Jibble I no longer need to bug strangers on the street going, "Hi, Jibble where are you?" Yeah. All right, yeah, so again, last 5 minutes or so definitely leave any final wins, any final questions, and I'd be happy to like kind of phase this out very slowly here. Let's see. I'm really impressed that Ente Photos manages to be end-to-end encrypted and have on-device machine learning for face and object recognition. Syncs faces too. Yeah, really impressive stuff behind the scenes, and it's really cool to see how far people can push like local technology as well as end-to-end encrypted stuff. It's so much harder to work within like those restrictions, so it is really impressive. Installed Easy Flatpak and have access to all the apps in pack form. There's thousands of apps and software in there. Nice. Still, the main pain point for me is that it hangs on one man. Anything happens, you're looking on switching distros. It might still be good, but something to be aware of. Yeah, and that's something to think, like, keep in mind with a lot of projects out there. I've been burned by too many services that just disappear off the face of the earth randomly. And so for me, I really, really try to look at services that I think can actually stick around for a while before moving all my data to them. Especially things that are more sensitive that, you know, if they disappeared, it's like, oh shit, that would be a huge transition to make. So keep that in mind when you're picking services to use. All of us have different risk tolerances. I have been burned too many times by these cool services that just disappear off the face of the earth, or they stop being maintained, or the developer just never logs in again and no one knows what happened to them. So I definitely think it's fair for people to ask and wonder, like, well, who's behind the project? How do I know they're going to be around another 5 years? If they get sick over Christmas break and there's a vulnerability in their software, they're going to be able to push out an update. If that happens, what's the risk level? You know, the risk level for that happening with a browser is much higher than that happening with like a local notes program, right? So all stuff that I like to think about before I choose projects and services that I use on a daily basis. Jeffrey, what do you think of Thunderbird's, Firefox's upcoming new free open source webmail project, Thundermail? I believe it's the first webmail to be free and open source. I'm actually not super familiar with it, but it sounds like a really cool concept. I did try Thunderbird recently and I was very disappointed. It was just, I know they recently like updated the UI slightly, but it still felt ancient and basic features weren't working for me and it was really buggy. And I really wanted to like it, so I'm a little conflicted on Thunderbird at the moment, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it would be super cool to see like an open source webmail. And I do think there are some open source webmail clients out there. I don't know if things like Roundcube are, but there are those like random just webmail clients that kind of exist right now that I do believe are open source, but none of them are really popular. So yeah, I'll look more into it, but it sounds really cool. I don't think there's anything polarizing regarding Debian versus Flatpaks. I use LMDE and a lot of software in Flatpak form. Okay. What about the open project? Don't know what that is. Yeah, Neil, if that works for you, then that works for you. For me, it's a bit of a polarizing use case. DNS leak thing, I admit I'm not entirely well versed in, but it seems it was reporting me being from Europe, where I had set my next DNS logs to be stored at, but still reporting my local ISP. Well, what might be happening is if you're not using a VPN, then it's going to show your VPN as your ISP, and it's going to show NextDNS as your DNS, and that's completely like expected behavior. So that's not a DNS leak. That's your DNS is not the same one as your ISP's DNS, and in that case, you either, yeah. Do you regularly use SimpleX chat? Not for people in my personal life yet. So I do have SimpleX, and it's something that I use right now for like the Techlorian group, as well as the surveillance support like patron group. They're not as active as I want them to be. Most of the activity for both of those groups is over on Signal. So yeah, that's kind of it. So I've been playing around with it. It's still pretty like buggy, in my opinion, but the privacy and security is really there, so it's really cool to see that. So I'd love to see usability continue to get better. One final note, I did update my PIN to 8 characters long and disabled biometric unlocking. Nice. Cool updates. Yeah, I'm starting to get tired, guys. So, and let's see here. But we have Techlorians and also joined the SimpleX anime and manga group, but that's like it. I didn't know there's a SimpleX anime and manga group, but that checks out. I'm not surprised that that's there. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't have that much more to report over on my end. It's been pretty slow back here. It was really good to get that video out, and you'll see quite a bit more coming out very shortly here. I really want to thank you all for tuning in and being involved with this and leaving your comments, leaving your questions, and also just leaving your wins and being involved with that. And again, if you want to get involved with things, go to discuss.techlore.tech, get registered. It's totally free to join. That's possible because of people who are Techlorians and make this possible and make our community freely available. And you can leave your wins, you can engage with others, you can leave questions. This is the best place to get support and ongoing help within our community. And it's really our only community right now outside of our Signal group, which is for Techlorians. So that's really the final thing I have to spiel. To spiel? Spiel's not a verb. But yeah, I'm feeling just a little awkward today. I think I'm just tired. So I'm going to definitely log off here. I still have a run to do, and I'm probably going to drink a matcha after this to hopefully wake me up for the rest of the day. I want to thank you all again for tuning in. I want to thank all of our Techlorians. Let me quickly just check the Signal group, make sure I didn't miss anything here. I love your EFF t-shirt, represent. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. There's the SimpleX directory. Okay, yeah, it's like the Discord server directory, except it's SimpleX with public groups. That's super cool. Yeah. So if anyone wanted to check out the SimpleX, there are public groups out there that you can check out. With that said, for the third and final time, want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for being active, being a part of the community, helping me make this a weekly thing and spread some positivity around the wins. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to see you all also engage with it. It wouldn't be possible without your engagement. And I also want to just thank our Techlorians for making all of this possible. That's all I have to say. I'll see you all next week, and that's it. Again, join next week's thing so I can showcase more of you.